Hey, it's Linda here. I wanted to share another relationship story of mine. This time, it's a little bit of a darker story of when you find yourself in a relationship that turns abusive. And the reason for me sharing this is not to out anybody or talk bad about a specific person, but more so as warning and something that can hopefully save lives of not only women and men out there as well, whoever find themselves in an abusive situation. I also got inspiration from Vaja, the YouTuber, who has been sharing her story on YouTube recently in her 10-part series. I definitely recommend you all check it out. She is an amazing writer, orator, and the way she describes her experience, it's really impactful. So the good news about this story, but doesn't happen every time of mine, is that I was able to make it out um, and make it out okay. And unfortunately, that doesn't happen for every situation out there. And I just want to show how I got out and how, if you ever find yourself in this situation or getting to be in this situation, I want to let you know it's okay to leave and never look back. So this story starts off with meeting a boy. So this guy, I'm gonna call him S, not like the first letter of any of his names or anything. But S and I actually met in high school. He was going to the high school that my best friend was at. We went to different high schools, and so we met through my best friend at the time. And we didn't really become friends or close right away. I just knew him through my friend, and I just knew him as an acquaintance. And so I knew him, of him at least, through high school. And then when I started college, he ended up transferring to the same college that I did during my freshman year. He was a year older. And then we started hanging out more because when you go to college, a lot of natural thing to do is, especially if it's a big college, to find people that went to your high school. And but he also was, friends with, I'm still friends with my best friend. So we ended up hanging out a lot, going out a lot. And so that's when we clicked. We actually clicked at like one of the parties we were going to and stuff. And so this was another story of like what started off as just like a random drunken hookup during college. And so it ended up being with him. And this was a time in my life, freshman in college, where I was out to just kind of have fun, not looking for anything serious. But we connected so much that we continued to see each other and became boyfriend and girlfriend. He introduced me as his girlfriend to his frat members and vice versa to my friends. Everyone saw us as a couple. Now, I knew I never would end up with him, mostly because he was from a religion that usually requires you to convert to that religion if you ever become married. And if anybody's watched my last relationship story video, you know that I always wanted to get married, but early in my 20s, I was just having fun. And sometimes that would turn into relationships unexpectedly. But I always knew I wanted to get married later on in life. So I dated him knowing that I pretty much knew it wasn't going to work out in the end. And I think he knew that too, but for the time being, we really liked each other. We really connected. And so we just continued to see each other and be with each other. And it was easy to kind of keep the relationship among ourselves and our friends because we were at college, away from our family and stuff. So I don't know if it was like a secret relationship per se, since we were like out and open in our relationship with our friends, but you know, we weren't really planning to tell our parents or anything. So I started dating him soon after I started freshman year of college, and that was around September time that we started really getting together. And I dated him pretty much that whole entire school year, almost till the end of the second semester or the first year. So this is how that journey went. He was my second boyfriend at the time, and I still maybe felt kind of new and maybe just unconfident in myself, because looking back now, I would never recommend anybody get into a relationship if you know it's not going to work out. So I guess, like, I don't know, I didn't have that thought in my head that, like, why would I ever be in a relationship if it is never going to work out. And it's just funny thinking that I ever thought that, because I got so invested in that relationship and it gave me so much drama. And it was just like, almost like, what was the point of all of that, you know? But yeah, so we started dating. Everything was really good. He, I have to admit, was like not the best, I guess, moral person. He was definitely one of the party boys I mentioned. You know, again, frat, loved going out drinking, smoking. I didn't really like cigarettes, but I did get into the habit of hookah, unfortunately, during that time. And yeah, we were just surrounded by that environment a lot. And so I think that just going out partying, we were just, I mean, I don't regret going out clubbing or partying or dancing, but because I was with him, I think like I just was so used to, I guess, a lot of that environment and stuff. I don't know what I'm trying to say. But I guess maybe I'm trying to say that I had really low standards back then of a person that I would be with. So, but he was always respectful to me, at least to my face. Like, if anything, I was the one who had a temper, and I was the one who got emotional and mad at him. Like, he never really, yeah, at least during the beginning of our relationship, there were no signs I saw that he even had a temper or anything. But as we started dating throughout the year, a few things did come out. So one of those things that I think will tie into the story toward him getting abusive is that a couple months into the relationship, I don't know why I had this sneaking suspicion of this one particular woman that he mentioned, or I knew he was kind of in contact with, but he said was a friend. I think it's weird that she specifically stuck out to me, because this guy was pretty popular. He had a lot of friends, guys and girls, part of a frat. They would host parties all the time. And he had many gal friends as well, and I had no reason to suspect any of them or like be jealous of them. He even showed me pictures of them like giving him a kiss on the cheek and stuff. And who knows, some watching this might be like, yeah, girl, that's red flag. But honestly, at that time, I'm like, yeah, that's a friendly kiss. Like, you know, that girl's cool in my book. Like, I have no reason to believe. But there was just this one particular girl, I can't explain it. She just had something about her, and the way I think I saw his demeanor change. I can't explain it. It just threw me off in a weird way. That like set something off in my brain. And I feel like I want to say it's like some women's intuition or something, like when you know something's going on, something's going on. So I think one time we were out and he left his phone on a chair or something. And then we were actually dancing at this time, and the chair was like out in the open. I don't know why, if my memory serves me right. This was over almost 20 years ago. So this was over 15 years ago. The chair was out in the open, and then I noticed it and I saw a text come in, and the text was from that girl, and it said something like, oh, when do you want to go to the movies or something, or like, when did you say something about movies? And it could have been like, honestly, it could have been a friendly text from another woman. And if it was any other woman that that was a friend of his that sent that text, I might have been fine with like not thinking about it, but it was from her. And so I think I mentioned it to him and I got a little bit down, but he like explained it away. So I was like, okay, that's fine. And then there was another instance where we were at a party and he had his license suspended at this time. Such a winner, right? So that comes into play because during the time that he had his license suspended, he was super careful not to drive. He actually had asked me to drive his car and drive us places. He was very, very, very careful not to drive. He's like, I got my license suspended. I can't do anything. I can't do anything. But that night we went to that party. We came together, but then he was rushing out and grabbed his keys to go out. And I was like, babe, where are you going? Where are you headed to? And he's like, I'm gonna pick up that girl, the girl that texted him about the movies that I had this feeling about. And then I was like, wait, what? And I was like, wait, huh? And then he paused and he looked kind of shifty, but he was like, yeah. And then I was like, oh, okay. And then he just went. And I thought that was very telling. That was very, very telling looking back. Like, he would go out of his way when he was very careful about like breaking his license suspension and not driving. He was like he could have asked one of his buddies to pick her up. So he went to pick her and her friend up to come to the party. And so he comes back with her and her friend, and the whole rest of the night he's like ignoring me and just hanging out with her specifically. And then I think I get, I have some to drink, I get emotional, and so then I just like realize, I think in the back of my head I feel like I knew what was going on, but I didn't know what to do. Maybe I didn't want to face it or anything, but I noticed he was like sitting with her the whole night, like while I was there, just with her the whole night. So I was like, that's that. My heart was broken, honestly. There was also one time in the night I remember specifically where I couldn't find him and she was like waiting in line for the bathroom. So I was like, I think I went to try to find him, and then
and she saw me and I passed by her and she was like, "Hey, are you looking for your boyfriend?" And so I kind of looked at her like, uh-huh. And so that confirmed that she knew he had he had a girlfriend, and she knew me, or she knew that I was his girlfriend. So in the back of my mind, I'm like, this girl, I think she's like I think he's cheating with her, and she's like blatantly called out that she knows she's the other woman or something. So it kind of threw me off guard. So I don't remember how the rest of that night went, but I think at the end of the night, maybe my mind's pretty cloudy, probably from the drinking. And yeah, I know, underage. Don't do it, kids. Don't do it. But it's college. I guess it happens. But I just remember I was crying to my friends, and then finally at the end of the night, like S comes to me to like try to figure out like why I'm upset, trying to console me, and then I think I just go home for the night. And nothing really came out from that day. I don't remember confronting him or anything, but I think I did end up confronting him later, and about either that girl, or I think I heard that he was cheating during a trip away with his frat brothers again. Like, I heard that he cheated with another girl, and so I ended up confronting him about some kind of I confronted him about some kind of lying, whether it was cheating or something. Again, my memory is a little spotty from them. Later on at another get together, and again, alcohol was a little bit involved there. This is going to be a theme throughout this whole video, unfortunately, of the presence of alcohol in these themes, but it wasn't so much that I blacked out. Like, I do remember a lot of details. So this time when I confronted him, I remember that we were outside and we both got pretty heated. And I think I was just saying something like, "I'm done. Like, no, I don't want anything to do with you anymore. I'm done. And he got so upset as well that he went close to my face like this, and he grabbed my chin lightly, though. He grabbed my chin. Well, first he was like, look at me. And then I kind of rolled my eyes and looked away like that. And then he grabbed my chin lightly, and then he turned it toward him. But he yelled in my face, and he yelled, "Look at me." Okay, the conversation went, "Can I just say one thing before I go? Can I just say one thing?" And I rolled my eyes and looked away, and he's like, "Look at me." And then I'm like looking him in his eyes. His face is super close to me. And he goes, "You will never find someone who cares about you the way that I do." I remember him saying that. And after he said that, I just thought, like, who does this guy think he is? So I don't think we ever actually broke up that night because we were still together somehow. I think we ended up talking through the lies that I was accusing him of, and he was able to explain them away. So much so where I even was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm glad you told me that, because you know what I actually thought? I thought you were cheating on me." I remember saying that to him, and he just kind of like laughed it off, like, but little did I know, I actually did end up confirming after we broke up, he was definitely cheating with that one girl. He was like having her over to his house pretty frequently during the day while I was at class and stuff. And I'm pretty sure there were other girls involved as well. But during that time I was in the relationship, I never really confirmed it. And I just always explained stuff away in a way that was convincing. And even that night, him saying that ridiculous thing and yelling in my face, he never yelled at me before. He never really had a tantrum with me before. It was always me getting mad at him. And so I just like stayed with him. Now, leading up to, I guess, the end of our relationship, the big breakup, there was just one instance where I felt like he might have been a little bit too violent toward someone else that like kind of shook me and scared me. And it was when one night he was with his frat brothers. They were just hanging out at the house, just chilling. And one guy goes out, I think for a smoke, and he ends up getting jumped by these two random guys. Don't know why. No, two guys go out for a smoke, and then they end up, one of the guys ends up getting jumped by these two guys that come walk by, and nobody knows them. But then so the two frat bros were outside. One gets jumped. The one frat bro, I don't know what to describe them other than frat bros, other than to differentiate them from like the random violent guys that came to jump them. The other frat bro runs inside and was like, our brother's getting jumped, our brother's getting jumped. And so they all rush out there. There's probably like at least 6 or 8 guys, other guys from the frat, all in the house. They rush out. And so as my boyfriend S is telling me, relaying this story to me, he tells me the story the day after, and he's like, yeah, I went out, but on my way out, I put on some steel toe Timberland boots that my buddy had brought to the house, had wear to the house, and they were on the side of the door, and he puts them on, and then they go successfully beat up those two random guys. So much so that like as S was beating one up, he went down on the ground and was cowering. But as that guy was cowering, S described that he kicked him repeatedly in the face with the steel toe boots, where he was cowering like this, and he didn't go unconscious, but like for a sec he like looked up in fear. But he just described him repeatedly kicking him while he was down. And I think that description did shake me a little, because yes, warranted maybe. You're defending your brother, you're defending your friend. He's getting jumped by two guys out of nowhere, and he got pretty messed up. But yeah, like, yes, you're defending your brother, but when is, like, you just kept going though. When was a good time to stop, I guess? I don't know. It just seemed excessive, you know? Yes, you were defending your brother, but it just seemed excessive. You could have really, really messed up that guy. So just like that repeated movement of kicking a guy in the face while he's already down and cowering, that stayed with me. So yeah, I remember that story of him telling me that. Other than that, there really was nothing I saw of him being violent or losing his temper in any way. He never, other than that one time he raised his voice, he never raised his voice to me. He never even like was calling me names to my face or anything. So yeah, I guess when the night that he turned abusive came, it really caught me off guard. So that was when I thought we were in a good place. We were hanging out actually in my dorm room. We found ourselves alone in my dorm room as a couple, and we had bunk beds, right? And we had these metal bunk beds, my roommate and I, in the dorm room. Now, my roommate texted me that she wasn't gonna be in the dorm room that night. She was like staying at another friend's house or something. So I was like, okay, let me invite my boyfriend over. Why not? So everything was fine until suddenly I think we got into a little argument and I wanted him to leave. Just leave for the night, and I didn't want him in the dorm room anymore. I forgot what the argument was about, honestly. I forgot what we were arguing about. But yeah, I wanted him to leave. There was no yelling. And I think like as we were standing there in the room, he wasn't leaving. I think he was trying to like reason with me. He was like kind of trying to sweet talk me or something, or just like, I don't know. He wasn't leaving when I wanted him to leave. So I like kind of lightly just turned him toward the door, like not aggressively or anything. I'm like, okay, leave, time for you to go. And I think that triggered him, and he switched around back at me, swiftly grabbed my arms and shoved me against the metal bunk beds, and I fell to the ground. And he looks down at me with this rage out of nowhere, and he says, while I'm still down on the ground, and I look up at him, I'm just frozen there in shock. I'm not saying anything, but while I'm still down on the ground, he looks down at me and says, "Don't you fucking touch me, you fucking bitch." And then I'm shocked and scared, but then I get mad. So I decide to run out, and then again, we had some to drink here, but I remember this. I decide to run to the door, open it, and I'm yelling out. It's probably almost 12 a.m. at this point. Nobody's out in the hallway. I'm yelling out, "Help, help." And he runs right behind me and he slams the door shut. And so he is blocking me from opening the door. So he is much taller than me, and he is standing with his back against the door facing me, and I'm trying to get to the doorknob. And I can't open it. He's not letting me open it. He's not letting me escape. So then I find myself in flight or fight mode. I'm like, I am trapped. I am trapped in this room. And so next thing you know, I end up giving him a swift punch to the chin. It didn't seem like it. So it's later on the next morning. It seemed like it was quite a punch where like my knuckle was had a little tiny tear on it. But after I punched him, he looked at me and I got scared. I was like, is he gonna punch me or hit me back? Okay, I had to restart the video at the very height of the story because my husband was coming in, and I didn't want to scare him while he was coming in from work with my abuse story right away. Also, changing lighting because the auto lights turn on. All right, so right after I punched him, I got scared that he would retaliate and punch me back, do something. And I thought for a sec he would, so I kind of just like, we both paused, and then he took a breath and he slowly
just turned around, opened the door, and he got out, and he went to get out. So after that, he left that night, and I lay in the dorm room alone, and I don't remember what I did after that. I just knew I was alone, and the night was over. The next morning, my roommate comes back, and I realize I have bruises on my arm where my arm hit the metal bunk bed bar in the middle. And I noticed like the microwave that we had on our mini fridge in the room was a little shifted. I don't know if I got pushed back there or he got pushed. He like went there, but my roommate came back, and I told her what happened, and I asked her to help me take pictures of my arm. So she took pictures of my arm and the bruises, and she offered to also go with me to the women's clinic that was on our campus. And that was probably one of the most helpful things anybody has ever said to me after something like that had happened, because I didn't even know what a women's clinic was or where it was. I don't remember if I called my friends the night before or if I called them at all that morning before my roommate came, but we had pictures of bruises, and I made an appointment to go to the women's center. And I think I was planning to just block him and never talk to him ever again, but I don't know if this happened the very next day or the day after. It was pretty soon after though. I was planning to just block him, but I think when I went to the women's center, I had an option to take him to court, get police involved, and the women at the women's center was so caring, and so at first I thought I was just gonna never talk to him again, but he ended up sending me this Facebook message of this long paragraph blaming me and just kind of attacking me, and that kind of made me mad and helped spur me to take action. So I wanted to take action. Now, I ended up talking to a police officer, and they wrote down a case number for me, and they said we could file a restraining order for you. There's different levels. There's a restraining order where he can't be like on the premises of you, premises around you there, and there's like a no contact order. If he tries to contact you ever again, then you could report it to the police, and it can also be related to this case number. So I decided to file a no contact order with the police. I don't know if I did that before or after I decided to do a version of court with him. So I decided to do a version of court. So there was I could have gone through the state judicial system, I believe, or do a student run court. I decided to go through the student run court,
and just say my case of what happened. And so after that, after that night, I knew we were done. Um, but I wanted to continue to file just at least some record against him. So the women's center counselor helped me through that. And we set up a student court, but I don't know if it came out with necessarily the outcome I wanted, because it was run by a fellow student at the college, and also during the I guess, I don't know if it's what they call it, during the proceedings, it was just like, it was just kind of odd the way it happened. But starting from the beginning, we were preparing for the student court proceedings. And I ended up telling my parents what happened. And so I revealed to them, yes, I have been dating this boy. This is what happened. So this is what's going to happen. And of course, at first both my parents were living. My dad was like, if we are in the same room together, one of us is getting out alive. That's what my dad said to me. But yeah, I had a chance to calm down as well. And he actually, this is why I love my dad so much, but he actually decided to drive hours down to my college just to be there for me during the court hearings, just for that day. And he wasn't like, sitting in the actual proceedings or anything. He wasn't like he wasn't gonna make his presence known. He was just there to support me. And I will always love my dad for that. And yeah, he's the best. So I felt like I had really good support with that. And also the counselor at the Women's Center, she guided me through everything. She also sat with me during the proceedings, and she helped me draft a letter, like a final closing statement that was actually while preparing for the proceedings. I'll go into the letter in a little bit, but I'll go through first what our mindset was going into it. So it was held maybe, I don't know if it was a week later or something, because I think I ended up being able to go home for a break for a bit and come back. I don't know if it was spring break, because I feel like it was near the time where it was the end of the year. It might have been spring break. It's because I went home to tell my parents in person, and then we came back. So some time had passed since the incident, and I think going into the proceedings, my mindset changed from rage and anger to, I want to send a message, but both my dad and I agreed, like, we don't want to ruin this boy's life. We're here to stand up for ourselves, but we're not here to ruin anybody's life. So that will come into play with like my letter later on. But boy, oh boy, there were things that were making me more angry, that would make me more angry during the proceedings, because we were asked to find witnesses, if we knew of any witnesses whatsoever. Unfortunately, like, no one I knew was there to witness any of it, but I ended up making this like mutual friend that was friends with both of the boys, like him and his frat brothers, and then she became friends with me. And she had some insight into things, but I guess understandably so. I'll have to get back to what she said after the proceedings, but understandably so, when I asked her to be a part of the student court, to kind of give a statement, she didn't want any part of that. She didn't want anything to do with the student court. So I guess I kind of understand that. But honestly, like, that's not what good. I think that she wasn't a good friend. Okay. So we go through the proceedings. He has a whole lineup of his frat brothers, and they come in spewing out lies, saying that I was the one abusive throughout the whole relationship and all these different things. The only person that I felt didn't lie was actually a girl that lived in the dorm just kind of across from my dorm. And yes, she was there as more of a friend of my ex, but she actually kind of helped, in my mind, she kind of helped reveal that a lot of what the boys were saying were wrong and what he was saying was wrong. And I was trying to contain myself. Luckily, like, they had a partition between us so they can see our faces. They could just hear our voices. But the counselor was beside me, and like, she could see my face when I heard all these lies spewing from these frat brothers that were trying to cover his ass. I was just flabbergasted, and luckily I did not like retaliate by interrupting or saying anything, because she helped like calm me down. She's like, I know they're lying, like, but we're gonna get through this. But going back to the girl that lived across from me in the dorms, she gave a statement that she was like, she couldn't sleep that night because she heard the door slam multiple times, and she thinks she heard like someone yelling, but she wasn't sure, but she heard the door slam multiple times. And I think I forgot why, but I think that, like, in my mind, that helped also show that they, like, to the judge, that they were lying. But I think the judge in the end, I don't know if they found him guilty or not guilty. I just feel like he got a lenient sentence, or the judge like believed all of that crap, which made me mad. I'm like, gosh, stupid student judge, like, believing all that crap and stuff. But I think he had to, in the end, he had to write some letters. I think he might have had to go to some counseling classes or something. But yeah, I think it wasn't the outcome I expected. But so to the closing statement, I know I'm kind of jumping around places, bits and pieces here, but the closing statement I made, I don't remember all the details, but I remember putting in there, and I read my closing statement, and I remember putting in there, like, I really hope you learn from this, and this is not something that I'm not trying to hurt you as much as I could in the end. Like, in the end, I just hope that this is something that you will take into account and never do again, and learn from this. And I think I added other words in there that made it more impactful, I remember, because I remember the counselor like giving me a big hug after it was all said and done afterwards, and she was like, your end statement was so impactful. I think she also mentioned it was like, so, like, not selfless, but something to a similar effect, where it was powerful, but it wasn't like selfish, you know? And so I'm glad that even though the judge might have believed those assholes in their lies and stuff, I'm glad I was able to say that statement. They couldn't see my face, but they could all hear what I said. And so it made me really remember that my voice is important, and it needs to be heard, and I'm glad I got it to be heard. So in the end, like, yeah, you know, I also want to add that one girl that I became friends with, that was friends with them and didn't want to be a part of the proceedings. I don't know why she told me this, like if it would make me feel better or not, but I guess I'm kind of glad I have more validation from it, because she was like, oh yeah, I talked to those guys and they were like, I feel bad, like the frat brothers, and they were telling her like, I feel bad that we lied, like I feel bad that I lied to Linda, but I gotta protect my brother, we gotta protect my bro. And so I'm like, of course, like, so they even admit they lied. And I think it just pisses me off that she knew that. Again, she's not a true friend, because she knew that, she found that all out. But what can we do? I guess it's just like in my heart, and in they know they lied, they admit it to people, and so in my heart I know I'm true to myself, and what I say is the truth and my truth. And yeah, it was such a frustrating proceeding. It didn't end up exactly the way that I wanted. I didn't expect all those lies to be spewed, but at the same time, I'm so glad I went through it, because I feel like, yeah, I don't want to like ruin their lives, but I sure as hell scared the shit out of them. Not only my ex, but all his friends, all the guys involved, that know if you do something like that, you can get retaliated back. Like, there will be women or men or others who were abused that can stand up for themselves, and they will fight back. And you know I'm just happy that I was able to show that I, like, yeah, you might have given me bruises and knocked me to the ground, but I'm able to stand right back up and fight in my own way. Like, yes, I'm not proud that I like punched him. It was kind of like a flight or fight mode, and I was like looking for ways to escape in my mind. But I'm not proud of the fact that I punched him, but I'm proud of the fact that like I stood up, I got out of that relationship right away, and I also took action to show them that this is not right. This is not the right way to treat someone, and to never put your hands on someone like that. So that's pretty much where that story ends. That guy, even though I started the relationship thinking like, oh, it's nothing too serious, because I know we'll never end up together, I still cared about him. I think we did end up getting to the point where we said, I love you. I still cared so deeply about him. He was still, at least for me, I was still loyal to him. He was still my boyfriend, the one I was with, the one I would do so much for and did so much for. And so, not gonna lie, even after all of that, there were times where some ideas of missing him came to my head, as crazy as it sounds. Like, I would lie in bed and feel like, oh, I miss him. But, I'm glad I never went back to him. And I never did. And I'm glad that it stopped at that first moment. Like, at that first moment, I was just done. And I think that's the message that I want to share, because many people find themselves in a position where they have a first moment and they're either like, it's never going to happen again, or it's not that bad. Some people might be like, oh, I just got a little bruise. Like, it's okay. It goes away. It's not that bad. And so they stay and they stay, and it can get worse, and sometimes it could end in death, And so nothing is ever worth
getting hurt like that, getting physically abused like that. Nothing is ever worth that. And I'm just glad that I had the strength to get out. It really can be hard to get out, because I understand that it might not be as easy for many people out there as for me too. Some people have to make plans to actually escape. They're intertwined with their lives, their finances. They have to make big plans. And I was lucky that I was able to get out, you know? And definitely be strong. Be strong. And if this happens to you, then that person is not the one for you. Thanks for watching.